Hello everyone, and welcome to another of my blogs. This is one of my finest collections. And if you were a kid in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, you probably recognize these. These are the Hasbro WWF toys that came out. And I wanted to share with you guys my collection. Again, since we're kind of grounded right now because of the quarantine, I wanted to focus on other things along with Miss Chris, that she's going to do other blogs. So anyway, let's get started. In 1990, I was still a kid. I was probably a tween, what you would call a tween now. And I've always been a huge wrestling fan. And before this, I had some other figures like LJN figures and a couple of Remcos. This was the wrestling boom of the late 80s, early 90s, when wrestling was very, very popular. And as a wrestling fan, I couldn't wait when I saw the commercial for these to come out. And I started to buy them. In the early days, it was thanks to my grandfather that he would buy me some of these toys. And eventually, I started my first job and as a sack boy in Jerry's over in Oak Cliff. And a lot of my tips went to these toys. So I wanted to start. The ones you see in the very front, those are probably my most prized of the toy line. You would have like the Series 1 Macho Man, the Series 1 Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, and over here I have Jake the Snake Roberts. Over here, the $1 Million Man. Those were like the original Series 1, and I gotta tell you that when these came out, the place that I would go to in order to buy them was mainly Toys R Us over by Redbird Mall. You probably, if you grew up in Oak Cliff, you know what I'm talking about. And every chance that I could get, I would go over there and try to find some figures. And eventually, I would try to convince my grandfather to take me to farther away Toys R Us in order to find some of these figures that were very rare. So as you guys can see, those are the original. Over there I have 3 Hulk Hogans from the Hasbro line, and I'm going to do another video on just Hulk Hogan toys that I've accumulated over the years. But I was looking on the internet, and the thing is that some of these have become pretty rare. And the one I have over here, which is Dusty Rhodes the American Dream, this is supposedly one of the rarest figures of the Hasbro line. And I found out that the reason why was because Dusty Rhodes had left the WWF before the toy came out, so they didn't do a lot of these. And I have it. I think the lowest price that I've seen on the internet is like 45 euros, $45, about $50 or so. And some of them are more expensive. Thing is, guys, that a lot of people that have seen my collection, they always mention how much they look in very, very good condition. With this one, obviously I did play with it a lot, so some of the like the hand over here, it's a little bit loose now, but obviously you're talking when I was a little kid, I would play with these, obviously. Now also some of the other ones that I was looking at with Miss Chris was the Kamala. Now the Kamala, now this one had the moon there, guys. It has a star, but if Kamala, the Ugandan giant, if he had a moon, I'd be taking Miss Chris on a cruise or something right now. So after, the thing is that as a kid growing up, you just buy these things. I really never put attention to it that Series 1, Series 2, I think it goes all the way to Series 11. And obviously I would try to get as many as I could, but some of these were very, very difficult to find, like my Andre the Giant one, which is also considered a kind of a rarity in the Hasbro line. I couldn't find them for a long time. as well as the Texas Tornado. Now, to me, this one was a very special toy because growing up in Dallas, Texas Tornado, the Von Erich family, Kerry Von Erich, were very, very popular. You know, as time progressed, obviously we're talking from 1990 to 1994, you know, started to grow up, and I still had, you know, love for these toys. You know, obviously here, if I were to just go quickly, you know, which of these they are, you know, we have the Undertaker, which I'm pretty sure right now is gonna go up in price if I were to sell it. This thing is like in almost perfect condition since he just retired. Bret the Hitman Hart, Mr. Perfect, Sergeant Slaughter. He was also another one that was very difficult to find. I have all the 3 Ultimate Warriors, which again, you know, they were not so easy to get because a lot of kids of that time, obviously they wanted to buy him or get him, you know, to play with him. I guess none of us were thinking about being collectors or, you know, what have you. But one of the things that you know, if you were to observe all of my toys, they're in really good condition, and I think it has to do with you know, that I love them so much that I couldn't bear the thought of breaking them. Over here we have the Twin Towers, the Big Boss Man, and African Dream Akeem, Rick the Model Martel, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Now this one, they actually came out with another one, but I don't have that one. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I actually met him when I was about the age when I bought these toys, and it was one of the highlights of being a kid, going to see him at Reunion Arena with my grandfather, and we got to meet him, so that was pretty cool. As time went by, some new wrestlers came into the fold, like for example the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom. They came into the WWF. Then we had the Natural Disasters, which is Earthquake, Typhoon, the Rockers. These are like my tag teams. Then we had Lex Luger, Sid Justice. Those guys came from WCW, and they made a career in the WWF. The Birdman, Coco Beware. Here's another one, Macho Man, but this one very different from this Macho Man figure. This is the original one. This is probably what you would see like in WrestleMania 3. His original attire. That he became the Macho King. Now, unfortunately, guys, you know, we're talking about 30 years ago. These came with little trinkets. You know, he had a crown, he had a scepter. Unfortunately, lost in time, obviously. Here's another Macho Man. You know, this is obviously as he progressed in his career, he started to change his wrestling gear. So that was like at the end of his WWF run. You know, over here we have a couple of another tag team. This is the Bushwhackers. I actually met one of them in Clearwater, Florida, and I talked to him for about probably around 10 minutes. Now, like the coolest guy in the world. You know, Bushwhacker Luke, Greg the Hammer Valentine. One of my favorite wrestlers in the 80s, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Then you had the Honky Tonk Man. Here we have Money Inc., $1 Million Man, IRS, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Whoa. Some of the things, it took me a while to put these in line. Over here, guys, we have the Demolition, all 3 of them. Axe, Smash and Crush. And this one is Jim the Anvil Neidhart after he left the Hart Foundation and he was in the singles run. And the thing is that, you know, I was kind of looking at these and I'm very surprised that I still have so many of them. And, you know, I think that's one of the things that I've always been very keen about is taking care of my toys as best as I can. Over here, we have another Crush. Obviously, guys, one of the things is that with this Crush and this Crush is, this is when he was in Demolition, and this is when he became a babyface, and he became Kona Crush. One of the things that, you know, a lot of, you know, the people from my generation obviously have a great nostalgia for these things, so much that they came up with these toys. These are vintage. Obviously, they're new modern wrestlers with the look of the 90s one. These came out about 4 or 5 years ago. And some of the new wrestlers that are in the WWE today, like Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar. And some of these are like the retro ones. Like, for example, this is Ric Flair, but the new one. And this would be Ric Flair from the original 1990 era. So it's a little bit As you guys can see, it's a little bit different nowadays, obviously, right? And if one of the things I never noticed as a kid is that some of these molds obviously were very similar. For example, you look at Tatanka, which was one of the last toys that I bought, because by the time this guy came into the WWF, I was a little bit older. You know, I was you know, leaving high school and going into college. But I still, every once in a while, if one of them caught my eye, I would buy them. So as you guys can see, even though they're different wrestlers, they have the same molds, right? Well, guys, finally, I wanted to show you these. These are my the large ones that were being promoted. They only came out with two, which were Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. And again, you know, these were a little bit more expensive, but by that time I was working as a sack boy. And one of the things is that they still talk. The Hulkster's running wild on you, and the Ultimate Warrior. Fulfill your ultimate destiny. Well, guys, you know, it's a 30-year-old toy, right? So obviously has some wear and tear there. These were more for my exhibition in my room. But yeah, you know, as you guys can see, I have a lot of these wrestlers. You know, and one of the things that I found out as I've gotten older now, how many people really love these toys from my generation. And I found out also that, you know, I don't have the complete collection. I'm still missing like Yokozuna, the Head Shrinkers, you know, the 1, 2, 3 Kid. But those guys came like when I stopped watching the WWF for a while. You know, I was going into other things. But hopefully, maybe one day, slowly, I will one day have the complete collection of Hasbro's, and maybe I'll do another video. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed, you know, watching this video. You know, this is one of my proudest collections that I have. You know, I'm very proud of it. The fact that I still have it, and hopefully I'll have it for many more years to come. You know, some of these, yeah, I would. You know, they asked me if I would ever sell them. And I think the answer is no. All right, guys, so take care, and hopefully you'll see me again with another video vlog. And I think I'm gonna focus on other toys that I have, you know, like in my collection, and hopefully you will enjoy them. So take care, and I'll see you soon.